Let's have a sesh on profit equals revenue minus costs. Such a big formula for business, but let's go through all the components so you fully have it locked down, because it's going to come up one way or the other in your exams, probably as a maths question. Let's go. So profit equals revenue minus costs. First thing to note, when you see this formula, you should be thinking not costs, but total costs, because that's really what it is. It's total costs. And total costs equals fixed costs plus variable costs. Remember, fixed costs do not change with output. Do not change with output. Think about your rent. Whether you make one thing or you make a billion things, your rent stays the same. So rent and salaries are an example of fixed costs. Variable costs, wages and raw materials are examples of variable costs because they vary with output. So the amount of things you make, the costs, the variable costs will go up. Key thing, fixed costs plus variable costs equals total costs. And when you see costs here, you're thinking total costs. Other things, so more complicated formulas. So variable cost, just this bit has a formula, and that is variable cost per unit. Per unit just means per one thing. So the variable cost per making one thing times by how many units, how many things you make, that equals your variable cost. So if your variable cost per unit, your variable cost per one thing was £1 and you made 600 things, 1 times 600 is 600. So 1 times 600 would mean your variable costs is 600. Other formulas, so total costs, another way you could look at it is average unit costs. So the average cost for making one thing times by how many things you make also equals your total costs. Exams will come from one of those angles to try and confuse you in those 5-mark maths questions. Let's go to revenue. First thing, revenue, another name for revenue is turnover. Don't be spooked out if you see that word. So another name for revenue is turnover. The formula for revenue is sales times price. Let's keep that simple. So if you sell 10 apples, your sales was 10, and you sold each for 50p an apple, so your price was 50p, 10 times 0.5 equals £5. So your revenue, your turnover, would be £5. Slight problem is that many businesses sell more than one good or service, which is why you might have to do this formula several times. Imagine you sold not just apples, but you also sold mangoes. So you sold those 10 apples at 50p each, but you also sell 10 mangoes at £1 each. You just need to repeat this formula multiple times and then add it up to get to your answer. Here's an example. So your apples, as from before, sales times price. So 10 times 0.5 equals £5 for your apples, which we worked out. Now your mangoes, you sold 10 mangoes, each at £1. 10 times 1 is 10. So you made £5 revenue from your apples and £10 revenue from your mangoes. So 5 plus 10 is 15. 15 is your total revenue. Okay, and the last thing is profits. So profits equals revenue minus costs. First thing, profit is not it's not the same thing as cash flow. If there's any confusion there, please watch my video on that exact topic. Do not be confused. Profit, cash flow, different. Okay, so profit, here it is. So if your revenue, so if this number is bigger than your costs, so if your revenue is bigger than your costs, clearly you made a profit. That's a good thing. If your revenue is smaller than your costs, so your cost is bigger, then you've made a loss. If your revenue equals your costs, then you are break-in even. Break-in even is different to break-even point, because break-even point is about how many units, how many things you need to sell to get to the point where your revenue equals your costs. Good luck with your exams. I hope you smash that numerical question and get all 5 marks. It's beautiful. And remember, for that question, put the formula down because you get 1 mark just for that and 4 for working it out. Good luck.